Blessed Day Reflection by Abia listeners. My name is Abia Grant, and we are here to reflect on our life journey. We will be discussing topics related to self-awareness, self-improvement, and mental health. Also, the purpose of this safe space is for us to be free to discuss the ups and downs, celebrate the wins, and talk about ways to improve the lows. So welcome to this podcast, and I hope you gain something from this time we share together. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Reflection by Abia. It is your girl, Abia Grant. I hope that you are having a wonderful and blessed day. I have a special guest on, Regina Renaye. She is a visionary and founder of Mindful and Melanated. It is basically an empowering community dedicated to uplifting and supporting Black women. And she is going to be discussing about her platform in ways that she is trying to, help us women out here live in our true self and just being happy with who we are. And she's going to share some of her experiences. So I hope that you guys do enjoy this podcast episode. We're going to touch on so many topics in this discussion. Just make sure that you sit back, you take your notes and everything. And I am going to be providing Regina's information in the show notes. So all her communities and things like that she's helping with, her website and so forth is going to be listed down there. So Regina, hello, how you doing?
Hello, Abia. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast today. I really appreciate you having this platform and talking about these issues that we as humans face on a regular basis. So thank you so much for allowing me to come on your platform to share my little 2 cents about mental health.
No worries, no worries. What you're doing with Mindful and Melanated, and I checked out your website and I know that you have a conference coming up in about a month or so. I was like, wow, you're doing so many things to empower Black women. I just love seeing the morale and just us all together in a space is just such a beautiful thing. And being able to feed off each other's energy. I think when we're in a space of us, where we see us, we're able to feed off each other's energy and just continue doing what we got to do and living our best life and everything. Regina, just tell me a little bit more about your platform, Mindful and Melanated, and just basically a little bit about who you are, and so people could get to know you and everything.
Yeah, so I have been dealing with depression and anxiety since childhood. My first suicide attempt was actually at the age of 12. And, back when I was growing up, I'm not sure how old you are, Bia, but I'm 40. And so back when I was growing up, mental health was not a thing, especially in a Black household. Mm-hmm. And so when I committed suicide for the first time, when I tried to commit suicide for the first time, I didn't get help. I got punished, right? So why are you taking on my Tylenols, Regina, right? So that taught me to learn how to hide my feelings. And so all through my life, I tried to hide behind this mask. And, when I became an adult, I learned I was, the strong Black woman syndrome. So I'm wearing this mask of getting good grades, being well behaved, going to college, getting a good job, doing well in corporate. So I'm wearing this mask of having it all together. I'm the strong friend. I'm the friend that people come to for advice, right? When in reality, behind that mask was that scared little 12-year-old girl crying, literally wanting to die every day. Mm-hmm. And so through a lot of trials and tribulations, a lot of different therapies, I finally found, some really good providers. I had a really good therapist. I ended up getting on medication. I had a good psychiatrist. But at the same time, I was still feeling like I was missing something because, when you are locked in a psych ward, you're forced to do groups. And even though the groups weren't the best, I liked the whole group therapy dynamic. And then so I found peer support groups, which a peer support group is just like group therapy, except It's not ran by a therapist. It's ran by someone with lived experience. So I'm trying to find peer support groups that are specifically for Black women, run by Black women, and I couldn't find one. And this is pre-COVID, so this is before mental health was really trendy now on social media. And so I'm fine. I can't find one. I can't find one. So I was like, you know what, Regina, just create one. You want one so damn bad, create one. And so that's how Mindful and Melanated started. It literally just started out as a private Facebook group and an Instagram page, and it slowly but surely grew and grew and grew. And now, like you said, Abia, I have a conference that I've been doing for the past 5 years, and it's called the Strong Black Woman Redefined Conference. And in that conference, I bring together persons with lived experience, providers, and politicians, and we all come together in one room to talk about the strong Black woman syndrome and how we can dismantle that cultural construct that has forced us to wear these masks when really we need healing.
We need support. And that's the thing, is like, that's what I love about your platform, is that it's putting an eye on it. Like you said, mental health was not discussed. Like, the politicians and community leaders and everything needs to understand that this is real. This is not something that is just coming up now. This is something that we've been dealing with for our lifetime, and our parents have been dealing with it, but it's been put underneath the rug, like as if it doesn't exist. And the fact of the matter is that it exists. And I'm so glad, with parts of society right now are questionable, but I am so glad on the mental health side that more people are speaking about mental health. So, guys, do let you know the topic that we are going to be discussing today is, sis, what do you want? The importance of living authentically for your mental health. And I really wanted to start off with loving yourself. I feel like as we are trying to find ourselves, through mental health, because I remember like speaking to my therapist sitting me down, through the camera, and saying, well, do you love who you are? Because I feel like sometimes we look in the mirror and we don't like who we are. And I think that can affect our mental health. I think that can stop us from living, authentically in ourselves. I really wanted to start off there and just the loving yourself part. Like, do you feel like when you were 12 years old and you were going through, your experiences, that you first, did you know what love was? I guess I will start there, because I feel like before you can love yourself, you have to know what love is. Do you felt like at that point you knew what love was?
Well, definitely not at the age of 12, right? I definitely didn't know what love was at the age of 12. And I think for some people, answering the question, do you love who you are, is a really hard question to answer, because 9 times out of 10, we don't even know who we are.
Yeah.
And for a very long time, I didn't know who I was. I could honestly say that, and this probably sounds really crazy, but I don't care. And because I'm quite sure there's a lot of people who are in the same position that I'm in and just won't admit it. I didn't know who I was till I was about 35 years old.
Preach.
You know what I'm saying? I had no clue who Regina was, because I let my culture, my family, the media, society tell me who I should be. So I thought that's who I was. And so, of course, I didn't love that person, because I didn't even know that person. You can't love someone you don't know. Like when you go on a dating app and you meet somebody, when you swiping left, swiping right, whatever. I'm old. I don't know which way you go. But if you swipe on somebody, you love them as soon as you swipe on them? No, you don't know them.
Yeah.
So that was my issue.
Yeah. Yeah. So you really, because you know what, when you say 35, that's when you actually started loving yourself. For me, I'm 41. I just turned 41 in June. And I really started didn't loving myself until I want to say 39, around that age. Because I think I started to accept who I was. I started running away from I want to say the noise. I started running from the things I didn't like about myself. Um, and I didn't actually genuinely love myself and accept me for who I was until
Mhm.
my 30s, like 39. And then I started to go, I tell my coworkers now, I have this mentality like, I don't give a crap. Like, I give a crap, but I don't give a
Mm-mm.
crap,
Right.
you
Exactly.
know? Because
Mm-hmm.
they're like, they get so, I feel like so, oh my gosh, like this is going on and that's going on at the job or this and that. And I'm like, okay, who cares? You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to make sure, are you happy? How is your mental doing? Are you sleeping that night? Are you waking up in the morning and feeling like I want to, go ahead and accomplish this day? That's what I'm concerned about. I'm not concerned about all the other noise that's in the background because that's just not going to be conducive, for me. And I think for me, and I was telling my coworkers that I actually went out to dinner with them, well, drinks with them on Friday. And I said before FMLA, because I was on short-term disability due to
Mm-hmm.
mental health reasons, I was I was at the job. I was grinding hard. I was there every day, every day, every day, every
Mm-hmm.
day. You couldn't my name. I was there. Who was there? Abia was there all the
Mm-hmm.
time. I said after FMLA, oh no, I ain't there. If you like this week, Friday, we were able to work a full day because of the labor holiday. We were able to work a full day because of the labor holiday on Monday. And then in this coming 2 weeks, we could take a full day off work.
Yeah.
We don't have to show up to work. So I was like, I'm already at work. By the time I travel from New York to New Jersey, that's going to be 2 hours because the train come every hour on every hour. So what's the point of actually leaving early dismissal? I might as well just stay the whole day, and then I could take off on Tuesday. Oh no, I'm doing that. Thank you for giving me the free day. Yes, I'm saying
Right.
I'm not going to sit here and come to work on Tuesday if I have to. I said if you're going to pay me not to come into work, oh yeah, I'm taking it. Before I will be there Tuesday. I will be there with bells
Mm-hmm.
on, tired and
Yep.
everything.
Yep.
Yes,
First one there, last one to leave. Yep. Mm-hmm.
so that's where I feel like you have to like you got to create those boundaries. You got to create those separation. You have to genuinely just try to live the best life that you're trying to live and not get so wrapped up in the and the mundane things. Like it's just that's not life, you
Right.
know?
Exactly. And that's part of that. And I think you hit the nail on the head with the setting boundaries. And, you know, that's part of living authentically. You know, good and daggone well, you don't want to go to work on Tuesday, right? So why go to work on Tuesday? If they're giving you the free day, you know, take the day. Like adopting this go getter persona, even when you're exhausted, pushing through work and personal tasks, you know, without taking like adequate rest, that's going to leave you feeling drained and burnt out. And at the end of the day, Abia, if
Exactly.
we drop dead, what are they going to do? Post your
They're
position.
gonna find they're gonna find that next person. They're gonna find
Exactly.
that next person. Cause I always tell people, I say, you're just a number. That's all you are. You are a number. Yeah, while you here, they make you feel like you and I'm not saying every place, every
Right. Yeah.
situation is different. But
Hmm.
most cases in the society that we in and we're doing a 9 to 5, whatever it may be, we are a number. Let's take a quick break. Join me in an upcoming episode with Letha of Letha's Real Talk. In our conversation, Letha and I dive deep into the power of childhood choices, healing from past experiences with our mothers, and the challenges children face in today's world, plus so much more. Letha shares her wisdom and experiences, shedding light on how these themes shape who we are and who we become. Whether you're a parent, a child at heart, or someone on a journey of healing, this episode promises a wealth of inspiration and understanding. Tune in for real, raw, and relatable talk. Let's go ahead and get back into today's podcast episode. But at the end of the day, it's like, are you sound? Like, are you good? Are you just here to, I don't know. It's like I just am tired of the grinding. I'm just
Yeah.
done. I'm
Yeah.
over it. And then some people feel like, oh well. I remember for me going into the conversation of because I know a lot of people deal with they've been at a job for a really long time And oh my gosh, I could never leave that job because I've been here for such a long time. There's nothing wrong with trying something new. There's nothing wrong with saying, you know what? I've dedicated my time to this place and I want to reinvent myself. I want to maybe create a different system for myself. I know for me, I had to create that boundary for myself. I knew that I was grinding too hard at my last job and I knew that I needed to stop that. But I knew they were not going to allow me to stop grinding. I had to say, you know what? It's time for me to move on and get a job that's 9 to 5 with no overtime because my job doesn't pay overtime, because that's going to create that structure for me. Like sometimes you have to create the structure for yourself and set in those boundaries, because I know in my brain how I work. I can't sometimes I don't know that I'm stressing myself out until after I'm stressed out. You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Because it creeps up on you. And
Yeah.
and here's the thing. It's like this, if you're one of those people where like, okay, I've been at my same job for 30 years, I have no plans on leaving. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're staying at a job because of obligation,
Yeah.
why? Like, why stay in anything? Whether it's a relationship, a job, a friendship, out of
Exactly.
obligation. Like if it's no
Exactly.
longer serving you, or if it's harming you,
Yeah.
you gotta go.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think like we don't want to because we're so used to just okay, this is what it is,
Comfort,
and
yep.
comfort. And I think that going back into the topic of being authentic is also understanding that sometimes you need to be uncomfortable. I realize that. Well, depending on the situation, I'm not saying every situation, because that could open up possibilities for things that you didn't see for yourself. Because I feel like that when you are doing something the same every single day, it's like, okay, I'm used to this. I remember I didn't want to leave my job because I was having a conversation with my mom because I was like, I've been here for so long and it's comfortable for me. And I'm scared to move on. I gotta learn something new. I gotta be around new people. I gotta get
Mhm.
to know new personalities. I don't want to do that. I'd rather
Mhm.
stay where I'm at, where I'm working from home. I could basically show up to my job when I want to show up, because I'm working from home. Then now I got to commute. Now I got to deal with people. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
You know what I mean? But then I say it was a blessing. It was a blessing in disguise because it allowed me to separate the home and the work balance. And creating those
Mhm.
boundaries within that. And I think you know for me, that is what I need. Not it doesn't work for everybody else. Some people could work from home, and I think you work
Mhm.
from home, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, and they be fine. Not me. Not me. I was grinding from 7 o'clock all the way to 9 o'clock at night. It became too much. But I want to get into the topic of navigating into the too much part, the perfectionism side of
Mm.
it. On the trying to how can you be? I feel like perfectionism, it's a good and a bad thing. I think perfectionism it allows for you to do something to the best of your ability, but on the flip side, that when you're trying to do something to the best of your ability and you need to pause because maybe you need to focus on something else. Have you experienced levels of perfectionism in your life?
Yeah. So perfectionism is a tough one. I think for certain populations and certain communities, I can only speak for the Black community and Black women because I'm a Black
Mm-hmm.
woman. But I think it's tough for us because we have this double consciousness where we are well aware that because we're a woman or because we're Black, and in society we're not deemed as equal, right? Because the default is a white man. We're the
Mm-hmm.
complete opposite of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
I know growing up, I don't know about in your household, but in my household growing up, my mom drilled excellence into us. Like she would always tell
Mm.
us, you got to be like 10 times better than your white classmates just to be considered even
Mhm.
equal to them type stuff, right? And so that was always like ingrained in my head. So like perfectionism was ingrained in me from a very young age, and it was not only because my mom demanded us to get straight A's, but because we know out in society we're not equal by default. We're not equal. So by default,
Mm.
we take on this perfectionism, and it
Mm.
just it we all is it you're gonna fail because nothing is perfect.
Yeah.
Nothing is you can strive and strive and strive, and there's nothing wrong with striving for excellence. And like you said, and taking a pause when you're tired, or you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Like pivot when things aren't going right.
Yeah.
But just striving for perfection, you're never going to get that. And because you're never going to get it, that's going to add to your depression. And
Yeah.
so trying to be perfect, perfection is not authenticity, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're trying to strive for something that's one, not you, two, that doesn't exist, that's going to weigh heavily on your mental health because you're never going to feel
Yeah.
good enough. And that's what
Yeah.
happened to me. Like because perfectionism and excellence was drilled in my head and from a very young age, my level of production, my quality of work, my accomplishments, all of that was tied to my self-esteem. So if I'm doing a debate, because I was on a debate team, so like if I get second place, or actually I got this one tournament we did, I got fourth place. Fourth place, I'm like, well, damn, I'm fourth place. Now, this was my first tournament. A normal person would have been like, oh, congratulations. Oh, and then
Yeah.
they would have been proud of themselves. Me, I'm like, fourth place? That means I'm the third loser.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like we said, striving for X, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with getting out of your comfort zone and shaking things up and doing something better for yourself. But if
Yeah.
you know good and daggone well, perfectionism is not our thing, stop striving for it. Strive for excellence, not perfection.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I know because you saying fourth place. I'm like, girl, you made it fourth place. I probably would have been in 20th if that even existed. Yeah, no, I was like, shoot, fourth place. I feel like that's such a, you know, my kid come home with a award or what they call those things. I forgot what they call those things. The physical. It's not an award. It's like a
Like a
plaque or whatever the
certificate?
case may.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, or what have you. I'm like, and it'll have like fourth place written on it. I'd be like, oh my gosh, congratulations. Like, I'd be so excited. I'm like, my girl got fourth place, right? She got fourth place. Like, she good, right? Like, because in my house, it was quite different. The crazy things I had to my house was very much of a just make it. You just make it another day.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how the mentality was. It was never really um it was it just wasn't like that. It was just like, let's just make it another day. And also very much like a go 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 kind of mentality. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't. Yeah, that's just how I remember it to be. But I know that I'm trying to think if I've dealt with perfectionism as a child. I don't think I necessarily dealt with perfectionism. It was really not until I got into my 20s and 30s, like early 30s, where I really got into like, if I want to make this amount of money, if I want to accomplish this certain goal, if I want to do this certain thing, these are all the things that I need to do. And if I didn't accomplish everything on my list, then it was me looking at myself like, what is wrong with you? Like, why were you not
Girl,
able to do that?
girl, I listen. I had a whole things Regina needs to do before 30 list. I
Mm,
had to have my PhD. I had to be married with 2 kids. I had to be a homeowner. I had to have a business. All of these, I had to travel at least, 2, 3 continents.
mm.
All this on this list that I had before 30, girl.
Mm,
Now, at 29, how you think I felt when I ain't hit that damn one of them things on that list? How you think I felt?
I know. I understand that.
The stuff we impose on ourselves, right? The
Yeah.
self-imposed expectations that we do.
Yeah.
It's so harmful. And it's not like you said,
It's
it's not
so
how it
harmful.
goes.
Yeah. And then also looking at other people. I felt like that was
Oh my
also
God.
another thing. Man, that was a tough one for me. And I still find myself kind of doing that a little bit in my 40s, but I don't have any children. And I'm, a lot of my classmates, a lot of my people I grew up with high school have children, and that was one of my things on my list. It's like I wanted to have a child, I wanted to be married, the whole picket fence and the dog and all the rest of this stuff.
Mhm.
I mean, I got the marriage and I got the dog. I didn't get the kids, but but looking at everybody else and saying, oh, they had children, and maybe like a part of me, for me, I didn't. Okay, I'm 41 right now. Like I have the option to have kids if I wanted to now,
Mhm.
still. But I think that I was so living the life, or think I needed to live the life that other people were living, and not necessarily living my own life, like whatever is my truth on what I want for myself, or thinking that because this person, it looks like they're happy, and I'm saying this with quotations, especially for the
Mhm.
people who's on Instagram, especially the people who's on
Mhm.
the Facebook and the all the other social medias that's out there. Just because somebody looks happy does not mean they are happy. And it
Mhm.
took me time to realize, especially when I tell people I suffer from anxiety and I suffer from depression. But if you look at my posts, or I don't know, I mean, I think when I looked at people look at my posts, they probably like, oh yeah, she got, you know, she's good, like she's fine or whatever. She doesn't look like she's having stress. Or you see people just going to different places, or traveling, or accomplishments that they post online, and we think all is good and all is not. And it's not until I started, like, again, 39, 40s, 41, where I started to realize that people are not happy. You know what I mean? And I need to stop living this lifestyle, or stop thinking that what you see others have, that because you don't have it, you're a problem, or whatever you did was not enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Mm,
agree with you. I actually just did a blog post about um my issue that I still struggle with about comparing myself to other people, and social media is a really big part of it. And it's
mm,
like, we know good and daggone well people go on social media to flex, right? No one is
yeah.
on social media except for folks like us who talk about like mental health issues. There's really nobody out there talking about their struggles out there on social media. It's all about, the pretty bubble baths with the rose petals and the bath bombs and the quiet luxury vacations and the happy husband, happy wife, perfect
Mm,
kids. That's what you see on social media. Or people's businesses are thriving, they making $10,000 a month, and everybody's a millionaire online, right? So
mhm.
everybody's happy online, right? And then you look at yourself like, well, dang, like all I got is two cats and some credit card debt. Like, what am I doing? But we have to remember that people go on social media to flex, and it's not healthy to compare ourselves to other people because, like you said, I know people on social media who be like posting these pics, they be kissing up on their man and stuff. And you be like, bitch, you was just talking about how niggas ate shit last night. What are you talking,
Exactly.
girl?
What are you doing? you,
What
you
are you
know, like, what are
doing?
you doing?
Sis, you was just complaining to me about this nigga last night, girl.
Exactly.
So we just got to remember stuff like that, and it's not like I'm laughing because it's ironic. I'm not laughing because I want someone to really be going through stuff. It's just but
Yeah.
we do have to remember people do be going through stuff.
Yeah, no, people do really be going through stuff. I really stress this, and this is something that I try to do for myself is monitor what I am looking at or monitor
Mhm.
and being conscious of the images that I am seeing. Like certain things I would hit not interested. Don't show me
Yep,
that.
me
I am
too.
not interested in seeing why something happened on. I was looking on YouTube. I was watching videos on YouTube early this morning. It was like some gossip column, and some of the content I like watching because she talks about Wendy Williams, and I am a Wendy Williams girl. I love me some
Yeah.
Wendy Williams. I want to stay. I want to know what's going on with her. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning into Reflection by Abia. Feel free to check out the podcast Facebook and Instagram page. The links will be available in the show notes. Let's get back to the podcast. But then, because I'm subscribed to her channel for that, another suggested video comes on with some gossip. And I'm like, I am not interested in learning about why this person is mad at this person. Like, like I'm not interested in that. So it's like monitoring what you're actually watching and the information that you're learning about. Like, some people, and you like this and you like it, do you? But like Real Housewives of Atlanta and all these Real Housewives of this and that, I was an avid watcher of those things. I was watching those things every week, the Marry at First Sight and all the rest of this stuff. And I said to myself one day, Bia, what are you learning from this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, are you learning how this one is bad mouthing this one and they're having the same conversation from season one that they still have in season 8? Like, whatever, I don't know how many seasons there are at this point, but you still going over the same rigmarole. You still don't like the person from before. Well, maybe I like him now. Well, no, I don't like him anymore. Well, you didn't like him in season 1. Just admit it. You didn't like him. Leave him alone. Like, why are we doing this for? you know?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you have to stop. Like, you have to be conscious of what you are accepting into your brain. What do you are? You know what I mean? And because you also have to think about like what you are watching, you are projecting that outwards as well too. So you got to be conscious of that.
Yeah, you got to be real careful about what you consume on TV and social media and stuff. And it's funny you bring that up about how you click on the not interested. Like I've been doing that a lot recently. Now I'm trying to clean up my algorithm because how the algorithm works, like you said, you watch one video about something that's slightly related to something, and they flood your timeline with shenanigans. It's like you watch one Wendy Williams video, and now all of a sudden you getting all these gossips type. Who's messing around with who, and Cardi B filed for divorce for the 5th time, and Ben Affleck and Jennifer Aniston's like I don't care. Like
I don't care.
it's too
These people are
much.
not in my life. Like,
They're not in my life. It's messy. It's petty, and that's not what I want in my brain. And we can always say, "Oh, well, it's just entertainment. You're grown up. You should be able to, watch things like that and listen to certain types of music and not affect you." Well, that's not how the brain works. I'm not a doctor, but like, so let's just put that disclaimer out there. I'm not a doctor by no stretch of the imagination, but I'm a human being, and I know that I noticed that when I was at my lowest was when I was watching The Real Housewives of Atlanta, when I was watching The Married at First Sight, when I was watching The Love Is Blind. That's when I was at my lowest. You couldn't pay me $1,000 to sit out. Well, maybe you could.
Yeah.
You couldn't pay me. You couldn't pay me $1 to sit down and watch one of them damn shows right now.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And that's the thing is like, because it's just like I said, you just got to be conscious of what you're doing. I was the same way. I remember I had a whole YouTube channel, which I now no longer have it, which was dedicated to Married at First Sight people. Basically putting out information out there about other people who don't know nothing about me, who don't care nothing about me. And I had to say to myself, Abia, what are you doing? Yeah, I had to stop myself and say, is this helping you? Is this helping your people? Yes, like it's not you over here. That should not be your focus, But I think that sometimes I don't know. I think just for me going through my struggles, I started to what's that word? I want to say kind of go through audit. I started to audit my life, you
Yeah.
know,
Mm.
and started to remove things that weren't conducive for me. It could be TV, it could be whatever I'm reading, which I didn't read a lot at that time, but it could be people, it could be situations that I didn't let go of. That I'm like, you know what? I need to remove this. You know what I mean? Like it was just like a Rolodex of things. And for me, I felt like going to therapy started that help. My therapist was like, okay, go. I want you to think about your life and all the things that has, you know, become stressful to you and figure out what things you need to let go. And understanding that letting go just means like you're forgiving the situation. You're not forgetting the situation. You're forgiving the
Mm.
situation, but it's making an impact to you right now. So you need to let it go so that you're able to move on to whatever is your next journey. I felt like for me, I was stuck. I feel like a lot of my childhood played a part of it, a big part of it. Um, my 20s, me
Mm-hmm.
failed relationships,
Mm.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
was a big part of it as well too. Um, I go back to childhood. Lack of a father figure. I speak about that a lot on the podcast. That played a part as well too. So it was like me going through those things, auditing those things, writing them down, and say, okay, these are the things that's causing me or stopping me from growing.
I was just gonna say, I love that you did that because sometimes we really have to step back and take inventory and do an audit of our life. Like one of the things that I've provided to the folks in my community, the Mindful Melanated community, is an audit of support systems. Like, who are the people in your
Mm-hmm.
life? Like, are
Mm-hmm.
these the people who are doing good for you? Are these people who are just neutral, they're not good or bad? Or are these people
Mm-hmm.
that's doing bad for you? Sometimes we need worksheets and journals and stuff like that for us to just sit down and just like you said, audit what's going on in our life, and for you to just go ahead and just like take the initiative to like just do that, I think that's super amazing. And if there's
Yeah.
like anyone out there who's interested in that worksheet, I can provide like a link to my Patreon, and people can sign up, and I can be more than happy to give them that worksheet. And
Yeah.
another thing,
Yeah.
you mentioned therapy helped you too.
Yeah.
Therapy, I think, is really important. Like me, yes, I have a platform that empowers Black women to, go on their mental wellness journeys, but I'm not a therapist and I don't want to be a therapist. I have my
Mm-hmm.
own therapist because, she helps me process things and my thoughts, feelings, and emotions. I'm someone who has lived her entire life with clinical depression. So there are different tools that I've created for myself as someone who's been through that. But I
Mm-hmm.
do think it's very important to have a therapist because they're the one that went to school. They're the ones that went to school for this stuff. So they have all like the theory and the knowledge behind how the brain works and stuff like that. So if you're out there looking for a therapist, I also have a therapist hiring guide, like some interview questions you can
Mm.
ask your therapist, because some people, they just go on their insurance website. Okay, they take my insurance, and then they go
Yeah.
with that therapist. They feel like they're stuck with them. You ain't stuck with nobody.
Nope. 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 You're not
You ain't
stuck with a
stuck.
therapist.
No,
You're right. You're right. Because I think you have to shop around for a therapist. Like when you
you
shop for
do.
shoes, you shop for, whatever household things that you need or what have you, you shop around for a therapist. I remember for me, it was very difficult to find a therapist. I speak about that a lot. And then I found my therapist. Like I said, not going to him right now, but I found him and he was a Black man. And first thing I thought was, oh, he's a man. He don't understand crap of what is going on in my life because he is not a
Mm-hmm.
Black woman. That was the first thing that I thought
Yeah.
about. Then I said, okay, let me see what he says, and I started to jot down some of the things and notes and suggestions
Mm-hmm.
and things he said to think about. Because that's also another thing I speak about this awful that therapists, they're not there to, they're there to listen to you, but they and give kind of a advice, but it's not like do this, do that. It's like suggestions. It's like A through, like you taking a test, they're giving you choices A, B, C, and D. And
Mm-hmm.
they're saying, think about which choice you think is best for you, but they're not giving you the answer, So you want a therapist
Exactly.
who's not trying to, yeah, you want a therapist who's not trying to tell you what to do. The therapist is listening to you and saying, I'm presenting what you said, basically regurgitating back what you just said and say, I want you to think about that,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Like, I really want you to think about that. And sometimes also we don't know what we're actually saying until we hear somebody say it back to us. And then we
Child,
be like, huh? I just said that. Like, yeah, yeah, that's what you just
listen,
said. We can rewind it back. And that's what you just said. And you're like, wow, that's a problem.
I
Yeah.
know. I'd be like, it wasn't me. She'd be like, but I caught you on camera. It wasn't me. I ain't say that. It wasn't me.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but it's good to have someone like really like you said, echo back what you, because sometimes you don't realize how, I don't want to say, what's the word I'm looking for? Sometimes you don't realize how off your perception is until someone actually like says it back to you, like, sis, do you hear what you just said? Like, I mean, my therapist don't talk to me. Actually, she kind of does sometimes. I was gonna say she don't talk to me like that, but she kind of does sometimes. Just for them to say it back to you, yeah, that's like, because you're like, oh wow, because sometimes we be so stuck in our head,
Yeah.
and then we just ruminate, and just the thoughts
Yeah.
just run through our head.
Yeah, yeah, and you don't even realize that. Like I said, he used to regurgitate back what I said, and I'd be like, "Nah, I didn't say that." He'd be like,
Yes,
"That's what you
sir.
said," and I'd be like, "Huh, interesting." And I'll sit for a minute, and I'm like, "Yeah, that is what I said." And I would jot that down. And I'm like, "Okay, this is something that I need to work on, something that I need to highlight," you know, because I'm trying to do this situation better. It's like, and it's just so important. Like through therapy, I also just, guys, if you got a notebook, just have a notebook next to you, jot down some notes and
Mm-hmm.
things as they're talking, because a lot of times after the session, I'll be like, well, what did we just talk about? Like I'll feel
Mm-hmm.
relief that I was able to express whatever was going on. But then I'll be like, well, what did we just have a conversation about? So just make sure you
Yeah.
have a notepad or something like that with you when you are speaking to your therapist. And like I said, shop around. Like Regina said, too, like you're not obligated to stay with that person. You're
Yeah,
not.
and ask them questions. Like, one of the questions I have on my therapist hiring guide is, you know, you explain to them the situation you're going through, and then ask them, okay, well, how would you help me process this? So, for example, I'll say something like, all right, I'm feeling resentment because my father wasn't in my life growing up. This is just a random example.
Mm-hmm.
How would you process that, right? And then depending on what their answer is, you can say, okay, well, that's not going to work for me, or yeah, that will work for me. You know what I mean? So have specific, like like Abia said, when you're shopping around, it's really important to have specific questions, because, at one point I thought I found a therapist that I was going to be able to work with, and he's, you know, swiped the rug from underneath my feet when he told me, well, I don't deal with people who've had addiction issues, because I used to have an alcohol issue.
Mm.
And so at the time I felt like, well, dag, I felt judged, because it's like,
Yeah.
aren't you a fucking therapist? Like,
Yeah.
whatever. But now that I'm out of that, emotional moment, okay, there are different therapists who have different specialties. So he
Yes.
wasn't trying to judge me. He was just saying, like, I'm not going to be the one to help you. And so that's
Yeah.
why you got to be real specific about, your lifestyle, any trauma you may have experienced, anything that you're going through. Because if you don't want to be in a situation where you're seeing this person for like, weeks and months, and then you feeling like you're not getting anywhere. Well, it's not because they're a bad therapist. They just may not be, well, they could be a bad therapist. I don't know. But, at the end of the day, they may not be good for you because they may not be a specialty in what you need them to be a specialty for. Like if you have an eating disorder, for example, you want to see someone who specializes in that. You know what I mean?
Exactly. You want to be very specific on the type of things and challenges
Mm-hmm.
that you have gone through in your past and
Yeah.
what you are going through currently. Don't
Right.
just focus on what happened in the past or whatever was trauma in the past or vice versa. You want them to have the overall foundation in that. And when you said, that he stated, I don't, assist people who working with addiction, and it popped in my head. It's like he didn't go to school for that. And the thing is, like, he probably thought, and I was talking to somebody a couple of weeks ago, that you want to be with a therapist who has the foundation and experience so they could give you the tools in order to help you through. He probably didn't want to open up a bag of not, I'm going to say worms, but he probably
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to open up a bag of worms and they didn't know how to sew the bag back up. You understand what
Exactly.
I'm saying? So it's like, nah, I'm not going to touch that because I did not go to school for that. Maybe he could explain that in more of a context so that would have
Yeah.
understood better. You
Mm-hmm.
understand what I'm saying? Him actually saying those words, but it's good that now you understand that, and maybe if people were to come to you and they have that type of experience, you could be like, well, they said that because of this particular reason, or hey, look for a therapist with this specific background or this
Right.
type of expertise, because that, I don't know if this person is going to be able to help you with that, whatever you're going through at that moment or whatever that has happened in the past. Because you're not, like, if you, like I say, you're dealing with an eating disorder, you're not going to go to somebody who dealt with schizophrenia. Like, he deals with eating
Exactly.
disorders. He doesn't deal with
Exactly right.
schizophrenia.
Right.
So
Right.
how is he going to help you? You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So
Mm-hmm.
it's you have to think about it in that context as well too. So I do want to get into one last thing with you, Regina, just to basically close out this episode for today. And thank you so much for coming on and just, having a real discussion with our community here or my community here, because I just really wanted to hear more about your message and be able to show people that it's going to be okay. But I
Mm-hmm.
just wanted to ask you, like, as far as like inner work, like I know you've gone through therapy. I know that you stated that you was on medication. Can you suggest any other type of inner work that people can do to live more in their authentic self?
Yeah. So, um, first of all, like when you are doing this inner work, or when you're doing any type of, work on your healing, my suggestion is don't just do what you think you should be doing. Like, for example, some people meditate, some people do yoga, some people walk in nature, some people journal, some people do therapy, group therapy, peer groups. If you don't like doing those things, don't do those things. Like,
Mm-hmm.
right? So find things that that really speak to you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so some of the things that I think are the biggest things that we need to do to live authentically to promote our mental wellness is one, embrace vulnerability. I
Mm-hmm.
think for a long time, since the beginning of time, Black women have been socialized to believe that vulnerability is a weakness. But
Mm-hmm.
that's where our healing begins. So, like, by embracing our vulnerability, we allow ourselves to be real. Okay. Like, like how I said to you today, like, I didn't know myself till I was 35. That's embarrassing, but it's
Mm-hmm.
real.
It's real.
And me recognizing that is going to open up some wounds, but it's going to help me clean out the wound and sew it
Mm-hmm.
back up and keep it moving. So you
Mm-hmm.
definitely have to embrace your vulnerability. We talked
Mm-hmm.
about this a little bit before, but like setting boundaries.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Setting boundaries is an act of self love. We talked about self love early on. You have to protect your time, you have to protect your energy, and you have to protect your well being.
Mm-hmm.
Without setting boundaries and enforcing them, okay? Don't be like, don't come to my house at 10 o'clock and then somebody come to your house at 10:30, you open the door.
Mm.
Enforce your boundaries, okay? So like we
Mm.
often feel like resentful and stuff when people overstep our boundaries, but you need to enforce them. So
Mm-hmm.
when we have our boundaries, we have the energy to do the inner work because we're not going to be depleted. Another
Mm-hmm.
thing I would say is practice self care. And when I say self care, I don't mean going to the spa. Instagram got us all twisted when it comes to the definition of self care. Self care simply means if there's something you need, if there's a void you fill it. If you are
Mm-hmm.
hungry, get something to eat. If you are thirsty, get something to drink. If you're tired, go to sleep. If you don't feel like baking muffins for the church bake sale, don't bake muffins for the church bake sale. Right? So prioritizing self-care just means, filling whatever void that you have. Like I said, whether it's you're hungry, you're tired, whatever, because that's going to help us, rest and restore and have the energy that we need um, to do the work that we need to do. And again, we talked about this before, letting go of that perfectionism.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, healing is messy as f. Okay, you're going to be having some ugly snot cries. You may even be healed. Like I was just wrote a blog post about this. You might be so healed, you may let go of some people in your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Healing is messy. Healing is not perfect. So just embrace that. So while you're embracing your vulnerability, and embrace the fact that this healing process is going to be messy. And the last thing I want to say is make sure you have a support system.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we be feeling like we're all alone out here, and we're really not. There's a lot of us who are literally going through the same exact thing, but we would never know because we're wearing this damn mask of a strong black woman, and we don't want to embrace our vulnerability and have a real fucking conversation.
Mm.
So build a community of people who are on the same page as you. Like I said, there's going to be some people that you might have to let go. Just like Abia was saying, how you have to monitor your social media consumption, you may have to monitor your people consumption as well. You don't need any negative energy in your sphere when you're trying to, do the inner work and grow and heal. Because like I said, it can be messy and you don't need other people. So why are you over there meditating? That child, that's not godly. Like you don't need stuff like that in your life when you're trying to really like grow and heal from whether it's trauma or workplace burnout or feeling of loneliness because you're not in an intimate relationship. You don't need anybody disrupting that. So
Exactly.
if you know what I'm saying? So like if you don't have a community out there, there's groups there's Facebook groups. Abia has a podcast. I have a group. It's called the Strong Black Women Support Group. I mean, there's stuff out there. So if you're really feeling alone, find a group. And it may not be your current group. And that's a tough pill to swallow.
No, it's funny. It's what really helped me and what I love about Facebook, and I kind of forgot about Facebook a little bit. I think because all the other social media started to come out. I'm like,
Mm.
Facebook has always been like that girl. Like she just really
Yo, facts.
she got a lot of good parts of her. I was
Yo,
like, ooh, you have a group for this? Oh, you have a group for that?
there's a
Where
group for
was
everything on
I?
Facebook. I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah, whereas you goes, I mean, I'm on Instagram and I have my pages and things on Instagram, but it's just a different type of environment
It
over on
is.
Instagram than it is on Facebook. I met you through Facebook, so it's
Yep.
kind of like you could just be able to open up the opportunity to find so much information out there and so much support systems out there. People, again, like you said, dealing with what you're going through and able to give you suggestions. It's so important to have community. I talk about that all the time. And community doesn't mean just the people who are in your circle at this moment. Community means
Exactly.
now reaching out and figuring out where you can get the resources and the environment that you need to be in to help you. But yeah, that's pretty much where I wanted to go ahead and end the podcast episode. Regina, thank you just so much for coming onto my platform and sharing, your knowledge and, your experiences, your information, as I mentioned before. And guys, her information will be listed down below. Her website will be listed down below. I know you mentioned a blog that I didn't know about. So we're going to have that down below as well too. And just try to just put the message out there for everybody to find the resources, because I know people listen to me all over the country and outside the US. So yeah, I just want to be able to be a what they call a support system, navigating everybody to
Yep.
to the knowledge. Hopefully,
Yes. Yes.
that's what's happening. That's the goal. That is the goal. Thank you so much for tuning into this podcast episode of Reflection by Abia. I hope today's conversation has inspired you to reflect on your own journey of self-care and growth. A special thanks to Regina Renaye for sharing her powerful vision and insights on mental health and personal empowerment through her incredible community, Mindful and Melanated. Stay blessed out there in those streets. Make sure you treat each other kindly, and God willing, I'll talk to you in the next podcast episode. Thank you for listening to Reflection by Abia. Let me know in the comments section what you thought about today's episode, and share the podcast with your friends and family. The link will be available in the show notes.